Have you ever seen a duck that made you so mad that you spent the next week on social media telling everyone how much you hate it? No? Well, thousands of RuneScape players did just that until the duck was removed from the game. That duck, along with countless other updates, have been removed from old school RuneScape, an online game that's existed for almost a decade now. Some of these updates, you'll wonder why they ever got added in the first place. Others, you'll be sad to hear are gone. Real quick, I have a question for you. Have you ever wanted to make your own RuneScape videos? Anyone who does YouTube will tell you in the beginning, making videos is really hard, but today's sponsor may be able to help with that. I'd like to introduce you to Wondershare Filmora 10, a video editing software that makes creating your own videos really easy. Whether you're making serious videos or spicy memes, Filmora has you covered. First, it's really easy to get started. Pretty much everything in the software is drag and drop. You just drag clips, music, effects, and overlays, of which Filmora has thousands included, right onto your timeline. My favorite has to be their transitions. It can be so hard to find quality looking transitions, but look how easy this is. Just drag and drop. But if you're struggling with something, Filmora also has a massive video library of tutorials. If this all sounds good to you, head to the link in the description to download your free trial. Now, the trial does come with a watermark over your videos, but you can still use it to learn if you like the program and make some cool stuff. Also, if you want to possibly win a free 1-year license of Filmora, leave a comment below about your experience with the software using the hashtag #CreateWithFilmora. First up, we have Unidentified Herbs. This is one of the oldest pieces of content on the list. So today, whenever you fight a Chaos Druid, they drop grimy herbs. For example, a grimy Ranar. Back in 2013, when you fought Chaos Druids, no matter what herb you actually got, they would all be titled the same thing, herb. Most players referred to them as unidentified herbs, or for short, Unids, which I will be calling them for the rest of the video. It didn't matter where you got the herb from either. This didn't just apply to Chaos Druids. Back then, grimy herbs simply didn't exist. As a result, you had no way of knowing what each herb actually was without cleaning it. Cleaning herbs is a simple process. All you have to do is left click on it. But many herbs require high herb lore levels to clean. If you didn't have the level to clean it or the GP fee to have a non-player character clean it for you, there was virtually no way of knowing what the herb actually was. You were stuck with a bunch of potentially useless or extremely valuable unidentified herbs. For most players, Unids were sort of like a mystery box. It didn't take long for smart merchant players to figure out ways to take advantage of other players who didn't clean their herbs before selling them. Bulk buyers of Unids found ways to game the system and make sure they always got the most valuable herbs from sellers. Unids caused an unbelievable rabbit hole full of scams, tricks, and other ploys. Luckily for us, Unids were all converted into grimy herbs in 2015 when Jagex introduced the Grand Exchange. I could honestly devote an entire video to Unids and all the scams surrounding them, so if that's something you'd like to see, make sure to leave a like. Next up, we have the removal of arguably the most hated object in RuneScape, the Reign of Terror statue, also known as the Rot statue. The statue used to reside with 4 other statues next to Clan Wars back when that was still in the desert. They were erected for the winners of Jagex's 2014 Clan Cup. The Clan Cup was a tournament where clans competed in a variety of different challenges to see which clan was the best. It was mainly player versus player focused, but included some skilling and player versus monster cups. In the end, the clans pictured here were victorious. Not long after, Reign of Terror was accused of some pretty heinous stuff. Ex-Jagex employee ModJed was a long-standing member, and many Redditors allege that he used his Jagex moderator powers to help Rot win tournaments, DDoS players, and even steal valuable usernames and gold from players' accounts. As you can guess, players were furious that Rot's statue stayed up through this entire ordeal. All the statues were later removed in July 2020. Jagex never gave an exact reason for the removal, but it occurred when Clan Wars was moved from the desert to Pharaoh's Enclave. I figure the statues were removed because they didn't have a place to put them, or they didn't fit in, or more likely they were tired of seeing all the memes about Rot statue on Reddit. Another interesting update was Big Mo. Mo was a salesman from the then unreleased continent of Zaya. He traveled around RuneScape in random locations for 30 days in May of 2015. Once per day, players could find him and buy a clue scroll from him for just 50 coins. Every day, the tier of scroll would be random. After those 30 days, Mo was removed from the game. Now, anyone who's ever been to Zaya will notice Mo looks nothing like anyone from there. As a way to sort of patch up the game lore after the fact, Jagex decided to include him in the RuneScape anniversary event from last year. In it, he tells the player that everyone assumed he was from Zaya, and that he won't tell the player where he's actually from. A few years prior, Modash did say, however, that Big Mo was intended to be from Zaya. So who knows? Mo is really just one big mystery. Personally, I'd love to see him return at some point. It was a fun way to explore the game and get some easy clue scrolls. Now, I want to propose an idea to you all. Let's say every time you die in RuneScape, you have 2 minutes to get back to your grave, and then after that, the items despawn forever. Oh, and how about immediately when you die, all the items you drop show up on the ground for anyone to pick up? Sounds good? Well, it turns out for a brief period of time, this was actually how death worked in Old School. These were the exact mechanics Old School had when it opened in February of 2013, but they were changed shortly after in October. RuneScape was dealing with a lot of disconnection issues because Jagex's servers were constantly being DDoSed. Basically, malicious users would try to attack the server to boot it offline. If you got disconnected while you were in combat, chances are whenever you logged in next, you'd wake up in Lumbridge with all your stuff gone. Old School's death mechanics are much different now, but it was truly terrifying to die back in 2013 and 2014. This next update is one I've seen thousands of players ask for it to return to the game. The Well of Goodwill. The Well was originally introduced to RuneScape 3 in 2013. Throughout the month of November, players could donate coins to this well. For every 10 million coins donated, Jagex would donate $1 of real money to a variety of different charities. In just 1 month, over 544 billion coins were donated. The well returned 4 more times in RuneScape 3, as well as making an appearance 3 times in Old School. Typically, every time the well was opened, players would also receive some sort of benefit for donating. For example, at certain milestones, new cosmetic items and emotes would be added to the game for anyone to use. Not to mention, being able to remove significant amounts of gold from the game was overall amazing for its economy. It kinda seems like a win-win for everyone involved, but the well hasn't made an appearance since 2016. For a while, nobody really knew why until someone asked Mod Ash, one of the game's developers. Apparently, the team has been asked to stop doing these events because it technically equates RuneScape gold to real-life currency. Why is this necessarily a problem? I'm no lawyer and can't afford one for this video, so I searched in the next best place, Reddit. There's a couple theories. Apparently, a fixed relationship between in-game currency and real-life currency could violate the United Kingdom's laws, which is where Jagex is based. It could also possibly break their own terms of service. You may be thinking, if all that's the case, why are bonds allowed? Right now, you can buy a bond for $7 on the RuneScape website, log into the game, and sell it on the Grand Exchange for about 5 million GP. The reason this is allowed is because players technically decide the price of bonds. The Grand Exchange is all run by players with minimal intervention by Jagex. Bonds don't have a set value, so technically they must fly under the radar. Did you know Jagex has technically deleted a god from Old School RuneScape? First, I'd like you to meet Charlie Brown, the one and only worshipper of the goddess RNGesus, the goddess of luck. Well, at least he was until he was deleted from the game. Charlie Brown was a monk in the Hosidius Church who had traveled to Zaya looking for luck. So why would Jagex delete this humble luck-seeking monk? Well, his dialogue was deemed inappropriate. If you haven't figured it out yet, Charlie Brown is just one big meme. The goddess he worships is literally just another way to type RNGesus, a fictional god or goddess that gamers pretend to pray to in order to receive lucky drops. When Charlie Brown got removed in May of 2019, so did the only link to RNGesus existing in RuneScape. As a result, RNGesus is no longer considered canon in RuneScape's lore. The fact that RNGesus was even canon at all for the 3 years Charlie existed is just shocking to me. Now, how do you feel about the picture of this duck? Does it make you happy? Sad? Do you feel nothing? I sure know I do. But for many RuneScape players, this duck makes them feel nothing but anger. I'd like you to meet Erin the duck. She used to live in Falador Park's pond, and when you got close to her, she would follow you. Seems fine, right? Well, it turns out this duck was added by ModReach as a tribute to popular streamer Saber6. It included what I believe to be references to her stream. For example, you could throw snowballs at the duck and get the message, the duck absorbs a snowball. If enough balls were thrown, a snowman wearing a frog mask would appear and make what is seemingly a pretty obvious reference to Frozen. To many players, this was an obvious case of streamer favoritism, and they were outraged that it wasn't even pulled first. As a result, Reach had to issue an apology on Reddit, and the duck was later removed. The final update is actually the biggest one. A few years back, Jagex deleted more or less 20 years of RuneScape history. The old versions of RuneScape's website, full of lore, screenshots, guides, and old content, has been missing ever since. But by a stroke of luck, some of them were saved by a bunch of middle schoolers and their school projects. If you want to learn more about that, check out the video I have linked on screen right now. I hope to see you there.